Welcome back, Mr. Withrow here. All right, solving inequalities. Inequalities means that they're not equal, so we're not going to use the equal sign. What we use is we use the special little symbols that look like that, less than, greater than. The other one that we could possibly use is less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. All right, so these two things, or these four different symbols are what we're going to get into today. Understand the fact that we're going to solve them exactly the same way. We just have these symbols instead of an equal sign. Don't get too caught up on that because nothing really changes until the end when we actually have to graph them. All right, so now what we have is when we graph, a lot of times you're going to see that we're going to have a number line that's going to look like this, right? We're going to put 0, we're going to put 1, we're going to put -1, so on and so forth. We have to use special dots here. When it's just less than or greater than, then we use this open dot. It looks like that. If it's equal to, that means that we would fill it in, because that means that that answer, whatever the answers we come up with, is also included in the answer set, in the solution set. So this means that whatever number we come up with is not included in the solution set. This means that it is. So whenever you see this less than or greater than, or less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, has to be solid dot or open dot. Again, you're going to solve these things just like normal. Don't get too nervous about it. You're going to undo addition, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing just like normal. All right. We have to shade, and I'll show you how to shade and graph when we get done with one of the problems. There's a couple things that you may want to know about, some hints. The hint is the fact that if you can keep the variable on the left-hand side, so x plus 4 is greater than 7, right? If I can keep the variable on the left-hand side, then the arrow, the direction of the arrow will tell me which way to shade. What am I meaning by that? All right, so x plus 4 is greater than 7. So any number, I need numbers that are greater than 7. 8, 9, 10, and even honestly 7.01 is greater than 7. So all these numbers in between here come into play as well. So we would simply subtract 4 from both sides. We would get now x is greater than 3. So any number that's greater than 3, but does not include 3, because remember 3 plus 4 is 7, but 7 isn't greater than 7. So we can't include 3 in our answer. That's why it's an open dot. So for me to graph this, then I would simply draw my line. I don't have to add a whole bunch of numbers to it. I can simply put 0, and then a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. And then I would go over here to 3, because x is greater than 3, so I'm going to open dot. So notice I circle it, and then I shade. And since my x is greater than, well, see, 4 would be greater than it, then 5, and then 6. So I'm going to shade this way. Don't forget to include the arrow at the end here. So now that tells me all of these numbers in between here. Because remember that in between 3 and 4, there are infinitely many numbers in between there. So we have to shade it to say all of those numbers, not just these big numbers that we see, but all of these numbers are included. That's how we would do that one. Now there's also one little thing that we have to remember, and that is when we have to flip the sign. Remember, if we have to flip the sign is when we divide or multiply by a negative number. So if we have 4 minus x is greater than or equal to 7, if I would subtract 4 from both sides, that means this negative comes down. This negative x comes down. Negative x is greater than or equal to 3. But I don't want negative x. I want positive x. So remember, that means I have to divide by -1. If I divide by -1, I have to flip the direction. So now x becomes less than or equal to -3. This is where some of you will mess up and you'll forget. I don't want the other way around. Now when I draw my, so -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0. So now I'm at -3 And since it's less than or equal to, that means 3 can be part of this. So I make it a shade. And then I'm shading this way. So I go this way and I shade in my arrow. Nothing too crazy. So you're going to solve these exactly the same way. It doesn't matter how big and bad the problem is. We're going to solve them the same way. Make sure that you understand that how to flip that. And then you'll be just fine. Greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, it's a solid. If it's just simply less than or greater than, then it's an open dot. All right, good luck.